A 1970s superhero crime noir adventure follows a retired soldier turned reporter who is given a coveted interview with a death row inmate. What he learns thrusts him into Atlanta's shadowy underworld. He'll have to use his military training to survive being hunted for possessing the information that could topple the city's most powerful ruling class. This is not a pre-order or a crowdfunding campaign. Get your books now at denali's.com.
Out in the darkness we roam, through galaxies we called home, across the void so far, return to the wild stars. We conquered space and time, in cosmic dance we climb, legends we left behind, now back to the wild stars. Oh, the journey we face, ancient warriors grace, he leaves the strength and scars, back to the wild stars. The wild stars. Echoes of battles won under a distant sun. We are the chosen ones, forsaking the wild stars. Secrets from ancient tales, through nebulas we sail. Destiny's final call, back to the wild stars. We face ancient warriors grace, he leaves the strength and scars, back to the wild stars. The wild stars. Oh, the journey we face,
let's-
ancient warriors grace, he leaves the strength and scars, back to the wild stars. The wild stars. The wild stars.
What can I say? That was wild.
Yes. I'm having a lot of fun with new tools that are out there.
Oh, that's great.
Michael, how you doing?
Doing great. How are you doing today, RJ?
It's been a week, and it's only Tuesday.
Yeah, this week for most people started over the weekend, so yeah, it's been a crazy one.
Yeah, we got Wayne Klingman is in the chat with us tonight, ready to hit Warp 4. It's a new number one. Yeah, it's not a number one single, but it hopefully will be Michael's new number one book. Now, let's be clear. Are we talking about a book, or are we talking about an installment series again at this point?
This one is a book. It's collecting the Wildstar 7 that was serialized last year in Kursova magazine.
Alex missed it. Alex missed the opening music.
I'm
Alex,
glad I didn't
welcome.
miss much.
Yeah, it was pretty good. How you doing, Alex?
Doing all right. Just got back from walking the dog.
Boy,
The dog appreciates it.
Yep.
We are talking about the new book, and so this already has been serialized to people who've been subscribers to Kursova magazine, and if you're not, why aren't you? And now it's going to be, yeah, it's how big of a book are we talking here? Because you put out some bricks before.
Well, this one comes out to about 50,000 words. So, if it was a normal sized book, it would probably be around 200 or so pages. Because we're printing it in large size and sort of a magazine format, it only comes out to a little over 100. But It's a really nice package. We've got some cool bonus content for people. We're going to be running 2 additional previously unpublished short stories set in the Wild Stars universe, and also Abraham Strongjohn's collaboration with Michael on Texas Goth.
Yeah, that was run last year, and that's the third level of of course, first we want to fund, then the 2 original short stories, and then the third level would be the Texas Goth, which will also include the artwork that it was published under, because it was a cover featured, and so it's got both a color illustration and the black and white illustration from the original publication.
Yep.
So this will be an illustrated novel.
Yes, it is going to have illustrations.
Mhm.
That's challenging. Speaking from what we've done with illustrated books, it can it's challenging in that it drives your price point up. I don't know how your printer is, but we can't say 200 pages of black and white and 5 pages of color. We have to say 205 pages of color.
That's the way it works. Yeah, the hardcover will have the illustrations and some original illustrations in there by myself in color. So will the PDF. The paperback version. This is the Guzman cover for the paperback. This is an original illustration, has not been published before. That one will have the illustrations in black and white. That's going to be the more comical one.
And we just put in the proof orders for the paperback editions today, so cool. We should be getting those in about the next week or so.
Look forward to seeing them.
So you're putting the proofs and you're confident then that you're going to fund.
Yeah, well, I mean, we haven't missed any Kickstarters before in the past, so we want to make sure everything is in hand and ready to go as soon as the funds clear, And
this will fulfill very quickly, yeah.
Yeah. We will probably be shipping them out by September.
That is quick, because I'd be a month after you've closed out the campaign if you just go 30 days on Kickstarter. You don't take it anywhere else after Kickstarter, do you?
Well, you can buy stuff online off Amazon, because once stuff goes out to our backers, all of our titles go straight to retail. We just usually give our backers about a month to have it exclusive in their hands before people can go and buy it on Amazon.
Do you change it at all for the Amazon? Like, do you make an alteration so that
we don't? No, we don't make any changes like that.
But the Kickstarter supported bonuses that the people on Amazon will not. Right now, we're offering the while supplies last sets of the Women of the Wild Stars trading card, and I'll let Alex say the name of the artist. I've just read it, and you hate when you sound out a name phonetically and you get it wrong there. But
I believe it's Xianu.
Okay, that would have been my guess.
Yeah,
but those are some nice looking cards.
I'm scrolling past a lot of stuff here to get to
there.
Yeah, that's the Texas Goth. That's the interior art.
Now, does Texas Goth, is that one of your characters in the Wild Stars, or is this?
It will have a connection to the Wild Stars. Yeah.
Okay.
Matter of fact, a lot of my stories do. And the one thing about these backup stories, these are not just filler. They do have connections to the main Wild Stars story.
That's the thing about the Wild Stars world, is that you can have this story with ghosts in it. You can have a story with starships in it, and you can have a story with goth teenagers in it, and it's all connected. It's all the same universe.
Yeah, this is a big, very widespread tapestry, and this is something I've been working on ever since I was a kid. Watching the moon landing with Neil Armstrong took one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking Into the Wild Stars, because to me it was, the Wild Stars. It's like, when we explored the West, it was the Wild West. I thought, well, space is going to be the next area of exploration. It's going to be the Wild Stars, and I've been working on it ever since.
So I just seen the four different pinups here. You got the not pinups, they're trading cards.
Yeah, trading cards. And so everybody who supports it while supplies last will get a set of those. And also, we're offering signed books because you scrolled past earlier. There's a 40th anniversary stamp that I will only use this year. This is the 40th anniversary of Wild Stars. And when I say 40th anniversary, it's the 40th anniversary of the trademark. Because obviously I've been working on this a lot longer than that. Matter of fact, and so you'll get that stamp in there and signed, if anybody wants to buy the signed versions there. So that will make it unique.
Yeah, so this
trademark is its own story.
Yeah, so this one's a big one for us because it marks the start of the back half of the Wild Stars series. There's been kind of a trend lately that really long epic series are kind of going out of style, in part because so many people are worried, like, well, George R.R. Martin never finished his book. Patrick Rothfuss never finished his book. Is this going to end? And so people are kind of leery about getting into new series. But since we've been picking up the Wild Stars books, we've been putting them out pretty regularly, one a year. As far as I know, Michael has almost finished them.
Yeah,
and this is sort of a real turning point story where almost all of the pieces are sort of set into place, and all the characters are in place, and we're starting to see that action really unfold. Even though we are starting to get some new characters, like the main character of this one, Conrock, who was the star of a short story from the 1977 Multiversal Scribe, which we reprinted in Volume 5. He shows up as the main character in this as sort of a tough as nails space cop, just sort of on the verge of retirement, and he's been investigating a series of murders where these alien women have been murdered, and the gems in their skin have been harvested, and he's trying to figure out what's going on and why this is happening, who's behind it. And so, in the name of keeping your friends close but your enemies closer, the Artomiques end up tapping this guy to sort of be their lead investigator into supposedly finding out what's going on with these alien women, where really what they're doing is they're going to have him track down the last of them so they can finish rounding them up.
Yeah. This is a story that I started, like I said, the first part of it was published way back in 1977. So I've had a big plan for a long time. And it's nice, like Alex was saying, I'm on the back half of it now. And I've already turned in next year's Wild Stars story, Wild Stars 9. 8 is running this year. And I'm about halfway through 11 now. I'm just going to keep going until I've got them all done. I mean, because everything's been building to these things. So now it's just like they're just pulling me along. I'm not really telling the story. The story's making me put it down into a print there.
Did you know where it was going to end?
Oh yeah. Matter of fact, my first published story of the Wild Stars was back in 1972. I was in high school in Erie Magazine. I was trying to sell them a story, but they ran it in their fan pages for free. I wasn't wanting to give it away, but they just took it and ran it and just ran it as text. And so this is kind of an element from the last chapter of the last book. So I've always known how it would end. And so I've been building up to it ever since. And that story's been reprinted a bunch. Matter of fact, it was reprinted in a fanzine, which also I did the cover for. And that same cover, you'll notice when the first appearance of Conrock in Multiversal Scribe, that also used that as an illustration for the story with Conrock in it. And this is something I published myself and typeset it all up, laid it all out in one night and misspelled boundaries.
Oh.
What are you going to do?
So this image we're looking at here at the Kosova magazine, was this the first installment of this back in spring 2023?
That was for when we serialized the novel back in 2023. The cover is by Stefani Renee, who I believe is a Comicsgate artist of somewhat ill repute. He
has a reputation.
Yeah, he did a really good job on this, but he's apparently laid on some Kickstarters and never gave us an interior illustration we paid him for. So he's on blast.
Sorry, Stefani. You come back. Come back. I'm seeing a lot of. We're traveling in a lot of the same circles here, Alec, because I'm looking at Troy Reiser, a friend of mine for going on 35 years now. Bill Willingham. You've
Fables.
got him. Yeah, Fables. I mean.
Yeah, my current avatar is for the cover of our fall issue. That's actually a Bill Willingham cover story. And Bill sent us some interior artwork for that issue. So we will be running a Bill Willingham story with some Bill Willingham art.
We just published a Bill Willingham story in our last anthology, the Fables Next Door. And we're going to be doing a short story collection of his. Oh, did I announce that out loud just now? Yeah, we're publishing some new short stories from Bill Willingham. So that's going to be fun. Let me get back to this. And so this is going to be the cover of the book then.
That's the paperback cover.
That's the what cover?
The paperback cover.
Okay.
And then the Stefani Renee cover will be used on the hardcover. But also, too, when you get those, the back cover will have the one that's the other cover in Virgin format. So, like, here's the Guzman paperback cover in Virgin cover on the back of the hardcover, and the paperback will have the Stefani Renee cover in Virgin on the back of it.
Okay. Now, my vocabulary used to be pretty good, but I'm going to have to hit the dictionary to know what gold exigency means.
Exigency is when you need to have an emergency response to a crisis. So,
in this case, what happened is Phaedra, the immortal extragalactic princess, has found a planet-sized chunk of gold, which has, of course, devalued the precious metal throughout the galaxy because there's just all of it everywhere now. And so the Artomics are like, all right, we've got to find some new hard species to peg Earth currency to. And so what they end up settling on are these organic gems that are harvested from the skin of this race of bird people. And they figure that if they harvest the gems and then kill off all the aliens who produce them, they'll have the market cornered. And so they'll use that as the new backing for Earth's currency.
Just pure rarity driving currency.
Right. Yeah.
Whether you can do anything with it or not is important.
Yeah. There's a term for gems being produced organically. I can't think of what it is. It's in the book, and but it's something they cannot reproduce in a lab. So that would make them very rare. And of course, then when they're being harvested, that's kind of a painful experience for them. So that turns what gems they do harvest blood red, and they tend to like ruby look better.
Yeah. So these are gems that actually grow on the bodies of these aliens.
Right.
As part of their structure.
Uh-huh.
That's an interesting life form. I mean, you'd almost have to cover yourself up to not show how valuable you are.
Yeah. And like I said, that came from a story that I first wrote back I first published in 1977. And it's nice to finally get to the point where I can tell the rest of the story. Somebody was asking me once, well, why didn't you write all these Wildstar stories way back when? I did write several novels of them, but the reason I didn't try to write them all is, I needed to have a publisher who, like Alex, who would support it. I knew I could get it out there because, you send stuff out and then people copy your work. You start seeing it other places. There was one Wildstars novel I wrote that I never sent to anybody. And guess what? None of the ideas ever showed up anywhere. So, that was kind of showed you don't show your work to people unless you think they're actually going to do something with it, because people just steal your stuff. It's just terrible in the creative environment, but you just see so much stuff get swiped.
This is book number 7. You've heard Michael say that he just finished up book 11, or he's in the middle of finishing book 11.
Yeah. So, and we're working on 12 too at the same time. So I'm going to have it done here in the next few months. I'll have all 12 of them written this year.
Did you ever think, let's go back, to 1999. I'm going in buying comics and, I'm seeing, the graphic novels. Did you ever think you would ever finally get to write the last book and get it done?
This isn't life's work. This is something this has been a goal. I really didn't know if I'd ever get to it. Yeah. So I didn't know. I didn't think I wouldn't, but I didn't think I would either. It was just one of those things. I just kind of kept working in a direction, kind of like somebody who's whittling on a piece of wood. I just kept flaking away, kept carving.
So here are the tiers we're looking at here. No, Siri, I'm not going to take a time to stand up in the middle of a broadcast. Watch is trying to dictate my life. You can get a signed hardcover of this for $45. That's a really good deal for a signed hardcover.
And it'll have that 40th anniversary stamp in it too.
Yeah. And if you're worried that why would I get book 7 if I don't know what's going on? That's a lot of books that have gone in the past. They're all right here. You can still get them. You can get the omnibus, which is 1 through 4, and the standalone hardcovers of 5 and 6. Or instant library.
Yeah. And the paperbacks are pretty nice. One of the things that we did was let's try to find them here. We ran the virgin covers on the front because we had these really great Mark Wheatley illustrations. And so this was supposed to be the cover for volume 1.
Right.
And as you can see, there's a pattern down here. And if you put them all together, they were going to make a larger image. And
other way around.
Yeah. And then the 3 and the 4 do the same thing. And so you get a giant star pattern, which did look cool, but I really liked the artwork he did on the front. And so we went virgin on the paperback covers. And so this is the Book of Circles. Now, this one collects all the comics from the 80s, the ones from the early 2000s, plus some new material that had never been published before. And and the nice thing about being in this larger 8.5 by 11 format is it really gives you a lot better presentation of the artwork.
Yeah. We love 8.5 by 11 here. We're doing a lot of hardcovers that way.
And then, so that's the volume 1. Volume 2 was a graphic novel surrounding about 36 pages of art. And because what it was, I'd started a spin-off series that was going to lead into the next big Wild Star story. And then my artist, Armando Gill, just kind of disappeared on me. So I ended up novelizing it and made it part of the story. Why that was, text. Why part of it was text. Why part of it was images. And then
I thought that was really clever too.
Oh, thanks.
You were saying it's like, and thus ends the surveillance tape footage of what had happened, and you go right into novelization. So it's like
right. It was part used as evidence in a court martial. And so and then volume 3, this is the first one where now this isn't the first one that Kursova did, but this was the first book that Kursova did. We did some limited editions that long gone, long sold out of a hardcover and a couple of different paperbacks. And then here's the volume 4, and this was the actual 35th anniversary because we got the 3 out so fast. Like, well, we got the 35th anniversary coming up, which is 3 was really kind of intended for. So we went ahead and wrote this up. And this one, one of the basis of the Wild Stars is that 75,000 years ago, mankind made our first migration to the stars, colonizing the brightest stars in the night sky. Those are the wild stars. Well, this tells the story of that migration, why it happened, what went on. And so this gives you that background. So that was always a big story I always wanted to. I had written that one before. And then as we roll on into the other ones here. And of course, those first 4, they're all together. Let me show you this before I go too far past it. They're all collected together in hardcover in a beautiful omnibus. And you say bricks. This is a brick. And with a great wraparound cover. And so you get them in hardcover or paperback. And then I said we continued with 5. This is the paperback of 5, the Atomic Rising. Now, this is a novel I wrote takes the place of a novel I wrote way back in the 70s. And I was circulating a novel around through the Fifth Street Publishers called Wild Stars Rising. And but I ended up using that title on the 4th book and ended up writing a whole nother story because back then, I was basically working in printing and manufacturing, and I was trying to write about business owners and this and that and different things about politics, and I didn't know what I was talking about. I go back and read it now, having owned my own business for like 40 some years,
And
having
been in politics.
I'm like, yeah, this is not salvageable. So I just completely reworked it, and this kind of gives you the whole story of the Atomics, the bad guys from Volume One, where they kind of take control of the Earth 200 years from now, and so that was done in paperback. That's the edition that's available. And the Kickstarter had a limited edition that had an optical effect. There's a difference between the front cover and the back cover. Now, if you put them side by side, you can see it. But when you flip it like this, you can say, okay, there's something different, but most people don't get what it is. So that one's sold out. And then the hardcover edition of it is got a nice cover, and then also got the paperback on the back cover, kind of like we did on the other one. That was 5, and so that took the place of the Wall Stars that I'd circulated, back in the 70s. And then 6, this is the one that I'd written. This is a cover by me, and then here's the paperback. And and of course, you get on the back cover of both of them, you get the original cover from when it was serialized in Crossover magazine. And this is that story that I never did submit to anybody. And it was amazing. None of my ideas had been used anywhere. And I was like, wow, let's see what happens when you don't show it to everybody and nothing gets swiped.
Yeah. Michael, I've asked you before, talking about, the comic shop that you owned and you closed down during COVID and all that, about, taking your inventory to comic conventions. And you kind of said you don't really go to those, but you really should be going to science fiction conventions now. You have enough material in novels. Forget the comics industry. Can't believe I just said that. Forget the comics industry, and take your Burroughs and your Wild Stars and the Howard stuff, and just have a table for that, because that's all you need.
Oh yeah, and for any of the viewers who don't know what you're talking about, I've also done a couple different 4-book nonfiction sets of the art history of Edgar Rice Burroughs and the art history of Robert E. Howard. Combined, they have 500,000 words, 15,000 images. A lot of them are restored. A lot of them are over 100 years old, and it took a lot of work to restore those.
You could share my table at Archon in October. Be happy to have you there. Plus, you could watch it while I'm on panels.
Yeah. I tell you, it's hard. It was always hard for me to get away, because I had 2 stores. I didn't just have an anchor; I had a double anchor. So I never did go to conventions because of that. Well, now that I don't have the stores anymore, but I'm still running mail orders through my home, and so I'm getting deliveries like almost every day. And now it's almost hard for me to leave the house. So I could never get time to spend at home. Now I can't get away from home. So I'd still be
yourself a shut-in.
What's that?
You've mail ordered yourself into being a shut-in now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and so only time I get out is when I'm doing things on the city council, doing the city council meetings and ribbon cuttings, things like that.
Do they really do that? Ribbon cuttings?
Oh yeah,
it was just like the movies.
Nope, we do ribbon cuttings. Yeah, whenever you're breaking ground on a new construction, you have a ribbon cutting, or you're getting ready to inaugurate a new highway that you've just built and things like that.
Okay. Now the hardcover is $45. You got a soft cover and hardcover here for $50. Is this the same hardcover with the stamp and everything, or is this just the unstamped, unsigned hardcover?
Yeah, man. Deep discounts if you get both.
Wow. That's getting the paperback for $5. Am I reading that right? You're getting the paperback for $5?
I'll let Alex answer that one.
Yeah, I mean, really what we're trying to do is we're trying to get new people into the series. We're trying to reward the people who are collectors. And now that we can actually use KDP as a printer for Kickstarters, we can afford to be a little bit more generous with our price ranges, especially on soft covers.
Yeah, and then for an extra $10, they're both signed and stamped. So
yeah,
that's have your eBay copy put aside, and then you got one you can actually read.
Yeah, because since we're able to use KDP as a printer now to fulfill Kickstarters, that lowers our unit cost by something like 60 to 70% on our soft covers.
Oh yeah.
Now, one thing too is they're available both through Amazon and Lulu in softcover. Lulu has an exclusive on the hardcovers, but you can also get a little bit higher quality package of the paperback at Lulu.
I have not tried Lulu. The people I've talked to who have tried it, I got mixed feelings about them. Plus, I don't like change, so I'm like, I've got a printer that works. I know how to work with them. Now, you got some stretch goals here. We haven't hit them yet, but this will put some bonus stories into this book. Are these Wildstar stories?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And then if you don't get to put the stories in there, where will they eventually show up? Because you want to tell the entire Wildstars saga at some point, right?
Yeah, we'll have to figure out a way to get them in there somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, because, we've got time, though, because, some of those, like the 12 Timekeepers, that one, the connection won't happen until book 12. The House of Infinite Doorways, that one actually happens in the 8. There's a little bit of a connection starting to go there, and then it starts to be a little bit more of a connection, even though it's kind of nebulous, it's not fully explained, and it's still not going to ever be explained. And this is one of those things that's kind of a mysterious element, and one thing too, when I finish these 12 books, that's not going to be the last of the Wildstars. That's going to be this big saga I want to tell, and then after that, I'll probably start doing Wildstars Chronicles, and probably the first one would be the rest of the House of Infinite Doorway story.
Gotcha. That's a lot of a world to work in. Have you called Netflix yet? And
it can have one series, yeah. It can have it could have an ongoing main series. It could have movies. There's just so much material here to work with, and so there's a lot of things that time periods and things like that, because I've got events happening 1 million years ago. I've got events happening 75,000 years ago. Events happening 200 years from now. Got alternate realities, and so there's a lot of things that I'd love a chance to be able to go back and visit and explore further.
Now, Alec had mentioned that Phaedra appears in this book a little earlier. Are there other Wildstars characters that we know with any prominent roles in this chapter, or is it all you're mostly on the new guy here?
There's other characters in there. Yeah, it's definitely part of it, and so you're going to get to see a lot of familiar characters in there with it, and as the Wildstars universe continues to expand.
I know one of your major characters was the ancient warrior.
Right. In Wildstars 4, the Wildstars Rising, that gave you a lot of, that told you about the Exodus. But then in Wildstars 6, you got the origin of the ancient warrior. Finally, his name that he couldn't remember. You finally learn what his name was. And you also get the origin of Phaedra in there too. So you get both of them, where they came from, although they still don't have all their answers. It continues to be revealed as things go on. It's kind of like a multi-layered onion. Once you peel back one layer, there's a whole other layer. So you resolve all your questions from one, but then you got other questions that lead into the next thing. So there's a lot of layers to this. And it's great to finally be to the point where I'm getting to these big reveals. And Alex doesn't know yet, but he's got a lot of surprises coming his way in these future installments there.
Because the ancient warrior, he was kind of like Casca with amnesia.
Now Casca, he could heal. The ancient warrior, you can kill him. If you kill him, he's not going to just come back. But he just doesn't age, or he ages very slowly. So
over 75,000 years, and he's pretty hard to kill at that point.
Right. So what it is he comes from the extragalactic. They're a race from another reality that basically their whole universe just collapsed. Well, they built an Exodus ship to go through when everything was collapsing in a black hole. They built a ship that could withstand the pressure going through the black hole, and they entered into our universe back when it was still just still plasma. And they've been around as long as the galaxy or the universe has been around. And exploring and this and that. And so, but what it is they're not part of this universe. So that's why they don't age. Entropy doesn't affect them. But they also ran into a problem, and it took them a while to figure it out because their fuel all of a sudden became exotic matter. And where normally when you use fuel, it depletes. Theirs multiplied. And if it gets to a certain level, boom.
So they're not tied to our laws of physics.
Right, yeah. But their gift of immortality only goes to their first couple of generations of children, and that's it. After that, then they become mortal. There's some other things that also get passed on, and that's part of the story in the later issues and what's going on and a lot of the conflict they're having with the extragalactic. They're a little bit worried about what the kids are up to.
As they should be. So do your Wild Stars novels, do they end on I'm not going to say a cliffhanger, but some sort of a springboard to the next book, something that says, and now you need to go to this book to find out what's going on? Or do they just kind of like end and you're like, I want to read another adventure, I go to the next book?
Probably the closest thing, you'll get an ending for each book. And you have a main storyline that will get resolved, but you're going to have it's kind of like at the end of the Marvel movies. If you stay all the way through the credits, you get all these teasers about things that are spinning off from the event of that movie that lead you into what's going to happen next. I'll have a whole bunch of epilogues, and it varies on each one, but I'll have epilogues at the end, and that kind of tease what's coming. Sometimes it might not even be in the next book; it might be several books down the road.
All right. Well, it looks like you're going to have the main saga wrapped up by 2027?
2028.
28?
If we stick with this 1 a year schedule.
We've got to have a huge party when that happens. When book 12 comes out. In fact, Alec, you're going to have to take. You can't just get away with that omnibus of 1 through 4 anymore. You're going to have to do a single volume hardcover for each one at that point, and have it's going to have to be like this one great big mural across the spines.
What that has been being planned is to do another omnibus of 5 through 8 and then 9 through 12. So have a trio of omnibuses to give you the whole thing.
You definitely do that, but they recover Harry Potter every 5 years, so that they can re-release it, and they put it in the box sets, and it looks all pretty and nice, and I don't know, I kind of like those things too, when it's like, oh look, there's a picture going across the sides of the boxes. You can tell when your books are out of order because it screws it up.
Yeah, I like it.
Are you working on anything else outside the Wild Stars? Because I know, you do the 12 books, and then you're going to have the Wild Stars Chronicles and other stories set in that universe. But are you doing anything more like, like the Sons of Hercules when you work with that, or any more of your chronologies?
Well, on the Sons of Hercules, if they do a second one, I've got other story ideas that I want to, make submissions to in the future. I've got other short stories I've been writing also. Not all of them are connected to Wild Stars. And I also do a weekly online comic strip that it's an adaptation of, started as an adaptation of Edgar Rice Burroughs' Beyond the Farthest Star. That's the title of the strip. And so the first two storylines were adapting the two stories that Burroughs had written. One of them wasn't published till long after his death. They found it in his safe. And then they had a science fiction writer, Todd McCaffrey, the son of Anne McCaffrey, the woman who wrote Dragon Riders of Pern. Well, he wrote a story. And then another fellow, Lee Strong, he's kind of a military historian. He wrote a novel called The Soldier of Pelota. So what I'm doing is I'm blending all these into one big story, and and kind of building on it myself, and kind of creating threads, and putting in new characters, this and that. And right now I'm in a section. Originally I had planned to adapt an unpublished Burroughs fragment called The Ghostly Script. There wasn't much there. It's basically 10 pages and just a little bit of a lead in. And then the Burroughs people, when I got to the point where I was getting ready to write that section, they're like, we want to do something else with it. We don't want you to do it because we got somebody else who wants to do it in book form. I'm like, okay, fine, because most of it was my story anyway. So I just stripped out the Burroughs part. And so that's what's running right now is a story I call The Land of the Dead, where basically I resurrect Abraham Lincoln. So it's fun.
Okay.
Like Abraham Lincoln is a hero on another planet. And what was really wild is the strip where he rose like a phoenix from the fire. That was published on a Saturday, this last Saturday, the same weekend where we had another president survive a miraculous event. So we just kind of like had two resurrections in one weekend of presidents.
That's some perfect timing there.
Yeah. And of course, the first part where they burned his body because they were trying to get away. They thought, well, we'll set it on fire. Well, they made an explosion. They incinerated them. The secessionists who were kidnapping the body. And I worked this into history because everybody's like, oh, hey, wait a minute. Lincoln's body was around. He had a body double. And so, in the story, I've got the guy, the detective explaining, well, we can cover this up. His body double died. So we'll just switch him out. Nobody will ever know. And so I explained how I can destroy the body of Abraham Lincoln and move him into a science fiction story. So it's a lot of fun having Honest Abe as a hero.
I bet. Alec, what's new in the world of Kursova? What's coming up outside of Wild Stars?
Well, we just put out J.D. Cowan's Star Wanderers, an anthology of his sword and ray gun detective thrillers. That fulfilled. It's going to be dropping on Amazon in a month. On August 1st, we're going to be open for about 4 days for submissions for next year. We've already got some stuff from our past contributors locked in. So it's going to be pretty tight space, a lot of fighting over a few thousand words that we're going to be able to make offers on. After that, the fall issue drops in September, and we are also putting out an omnibus of Adrian Cole's Dream Lords trilogy, which was originally published in 1975 and 1976. So we're doing a 50th anniversary omnibus collecting those because next year we are going to be putting together a collection of his new Dream Lord stories that we've been publishing mostly in Kursova magazine since 2016. So
keeping things moving along there. A 4-day window. That's you get that many submissions that kind of.
We were open for a week last year, and I got something like 1.5 million words of fiction that I had to go through, and it was just too much.
Wow, that's we're not there. We're not worthy. Michael, we are open. We've been open for 2 weeks now so far. In our next call, we're open through the end of August.
What's the next call?
Short stories for, and wait for it, Gods and Services, new location.
Okay.
Gods and Services was our first anthology, and that's the one that you got a story in that one.
Yeah, I do.
So you want to revisit the world of Hiram Priest and the little pop-up shop, folks. If you are watching, and we've got a handful of stories in, not a bunch, but they're all good. So we're like waiting to find reasons to throw to reject stories. So far, we're getting really good writers. It's the pop-up shop that wasn't there yesterday, won't be there tomorrow when you try to return something. It sells junk items, but they come with a god attached to them. And because you made an offering to the god, it's going to make your life better.
Yeah, you had a clever catch on that. It was like the sign says it's supposed to say goods and services, but one of the O's drops, so it becomes gods and services.
Yes. We have a little neon sign this time, and the O is going to be burned out. And we got the story that threads through the story. So when you write your stories, it's going to be introduced by the main characters. There's an overarching story that I have to write based on what we accept. so that I can tell the story and weave in and out of everyone
There you
else's submissions for Hiram to do the introduction. It's one of my favorite concepts. But
One thing, when Alex was talking earlier about all the submissions he gets, and I was listening to an interview he did with another fellow on another podcast where he was talking about the old saying of 90% of everything is crap. And I thought, Alex, you might want to share that story because it's very revealing.
whose law is that?
Oh, that's Sturgeon's law. One of the things that I found was, I feel like Sturgeon was saying that to just kind of run cover for his own editor, Campbell, because Astounding had to be a monthly publication. So they were having to put out a new issue every month. And there was only so big a stable of Campbell's good authors to just crank out content. So when I was going through some of the late 40s Astounding stuff, some of the stories were just awful. You'd hit a big name, like you'd hit like an A. Van Vogt or a someone like L. Ron Hubbard, and it'd be great, yeah. But then there'd be like several just awful stories in the middle, and it was just exhausting to read some of those. And so I was kind of thinking, I didn't have this experience when I was reading stuff like Planet Stories or Thrilling Wonder Stories or even some of the startling stuff. And so yeah, I just sort of had this feeling that like I think Teddy was just trying to cover for his editor.
90% of our stuff is crap.
Because one of the things that Lee Brackett said was if you wrote a story for Campbell, you couldn't sell it to anybody else.
Oh, that's interesting. So they had an exclusive on it before you even turned it in.
No. What she meant was if you wrote the sort of story that Campbell would buy, there were no other editors in sci-fi that would actually put an offer on it. So either you wrote your popular mechanic story and Campbell bought it, or it just rotted forever because nobody actually wanted that sort of thing but him.
Yeah, and if he didn't want it, nobody wanted it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's something I did not know. Maybe I'll get to tell that story at the science fiction convention in October, and act like I know what I'm talking about. Finally.
Talk about conventions and things like, one thing I think, and this is something I've mentioned to Alex before, is I think what we really need is a new form of awards for fantastic literature, because the Science Fiction Writers Association, I don't know what's up. They're more of a political organization now, and it's not about content. It's like I can't
burn through all their money trying to defend Patrick S. Tomlinson, who's been doxing himself and harassing people on the internet.
Yeah,
yes, he has been.
So they don't really represent what's good on the fiction anymore, and it's like I tried to join, and they're like, well, you've got all these half credits, but we don't add them all up together. So they don't even allow anybody like my Beyond the Farthest Star, my weekly strip that I write. Oh, that doesn't count as science fiction anymore, because what happened was Neil Gaiman came in, started winning all these awards. Oh, okay, comics are out. You can't be a comic writer. We don't count that anymore. And so they just keep slanting the awards to where certain people just, they only want certain people to win, and it's kind of stilted, So I know Kurzawa was nominated for award. He didn't win. I was nominated for award on the Edgar Rice Burroughs story that I completed, but didn't win. But the whole thing is it's really kind of a closed door, and it's a lot more about politics than it is about good stories. Now, I wish somebody would start a new award, that encompasses all the gods and services and the Kursovas and all the different people who try to do creative fiction in the market today.
It's not going to be me. I've got my hands full. But yeah, somebody do something out there. Get stand up for the little guys.
But you were mentioning the Sons of Hercules earlier. That was picked as one of the top 25 independent publications last year by another organization.
Nice. I'd love to. I need to find these organizations and start submitting my books to them. Anyway, I think We are close to the top of the hour. Is there anything else that we should be touching on here that bring it back to Wild Stars and Kursova? Enough about me. It's not my show.
Yeah, so a lot of our buying power for next year is going to depend on how well this does.
You heard it, folks. The link below the video will take you to this Kickstarter. The prices are outrageously cheap. Even if you're going to get like the entire, catch-up tier. I've held these books in my hands, not this specific volume, but previous ones. They are high-quality books. Will look great on your shelf. Will look greater on your lap while you're reading them. Let's not just buy them to make the living room look pretty.
Yeah, I've gotten lots of fantastic reviews. If you go to my website, I've got a page that's just nothing but reviews, and it links to the original reviews, so you can always go back and say, okay, I'm not going to pull the whole review out. You're not supposed to do that, but I'll just pull highlights, and then I'll include a link where a person can go and read the entire review from the original post.
And that website is www.thewildstars.com.
Right.
Put it up here in the chat, and if you're watching here on X, it's easy enough to remember. Just type that into your other tab in browser and go check it out. Not only will you find out everything about the Wild Stars books, but you'll find out what Michael's voting on at the next committee meetings, because he's alderman,
city councilman, alderman, kind of the same thing. And
you can see some of the classic advertisements too from the old comic store. You could see She-Hulk's visit, bunch of cool stuff.
Yeah, I've got all my old commercials because I made my own commercials for my stores, and so I've got a whole page of nothing but videos on there, and so then of course you can find all about the Robert E. Howard and Edgar Rice Burroughs art chronologies, and all the different publications that I do, the Beyond the Farthest Star. And one thing I do on the Beyond the Farthest Star is I'll run a teaser every week, and
yes,
I'll show a piece of the artwork and a piece of the story. I don't always give you the whole story. Sometimes I'll have one that's just the artist just does a spectacular job. I just can't pick one little scene out of it. And every now and then I'll run you a whole episode just to try to get you hooked. But and then sometimes I'll just completely BS you about what's happening in the story, because I want you to go back and subscribe to read the actual story. And and I've already got, talk about working ahead. I've already got it written all the way up to the last episode of that. And I've already sent all the episodes to the artist. So if something happens to me, lightning strikes, that strip will be finished now. They'll have to find somebody else to do the lettering, because I also do the lettering still. I used to do the coloring on the first 100 episodes, but then when we got a new artist, and he's from Argentina, and I apologize in advance if I butcher his name, because I've never heard it pronounced, Sylvester Solagi, but he's a very experienced artist. He's doing a fantastic job, and just wonderful. But he does his own coloring, so I was like, yeah, I'll give up the coloring.
Yeah, take a load off my back.
Yeah,
free.
So, but I've already got that written all the way up to the final episodes of 314. Right now, it's like we're a little over halfway, and so I'll work way ahead like that, and that's what I'm going to do with my Wall Stars. I'm going to get that completely written, so if you start this and you get hooked on it, it's going to finish. I'm not going to do a George R. Martin on you.
No, you don't want. We don't want another Wheel of Time.
Right.
Somebody else has got to finish it out. Jordan, Robert Jordan. All right, guys, thanks so much for popping on and telling us about the new book and where things are going with the other stories and the other magazines.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to talk about it.
Always welcome here to come on and do that. Guys, hit this Kickstarter. We want to get this thing up. It's only got a $1,500 goal, and it's over halfway there.
Just launched yesterday.
This is the summer reading season. You got to get something to read on vacation. Grab these. Can't recommend it enough. All right, everybody in the chat, thank you so much for being here tonight. We don't have a show without you guys. We're just a podcast falling in the woods otherwise. So we're glad that you're here. And of course, as always, while you were here, we just hope you had a blast. Good night, everybody.